and Defense. Our next panelist, we have with us Mr. Hugh Morgan, Senior Vice President, Aerospace, Procurement, Rolls-Royce. Our next panelist, let's welcome Mr. Savyasachi Srinivas, Vice President, Engineering at Collins Aerospace. And joining us for this panel discussion as a moderator, please welcome Mr. Srinivasan, Dwarakanath, Director General, Aerospace India Association, former CEO and MD of Airbus India. Dignitaries, I want to take this opportunity and thank you for taking time off your busy schedule and joining us out here for Invest Karnataka 2025. Looking forward to your thoughts and opinions. Mr. Srinivasan, I leave the floor to you to lead this panel discussion.
Thank you very much. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, panelists as well. So what we will do first is that you know the theme of this session, and we'll ask for an opening comments up to about 5 minutes or so. I'll start with the opening comments myself, and then I'll ask you to lead on that, and if that's all right with you. Good morning again. So, both Boeing and Airbus, their global market forecast, states that for the next 20 years, there is a need for more than 42,000 plus aircraft or the new planes, right? So India will play one of the major, part in that because we have already ordered significant number of aircraft, and the value of it is about 15 billion per year over the next 10 years, right? So this is also going to result in an uptake in the global supply chain. So in 2023, the value of the global aerospace supply chain was about $180 billion, and by 2033, that'll go up to $250 billion. So that's a significant amount in terms of the aerospace. And let's look at how India is performing as part of that supply chain. Deep dive into India. In 2005, there were significant orders coming from India, from Air India, Indian Airlines, Kingfisher, Air Deccan, Indigo, and other airlines as well. At that time, a lot of companies from automotive sector as well as from IT industries wanted to jump into aerospace. We saw companies like Dynamatics and Acres and Tatas and Mahindras coming in. Also from the IT side, we had TCS, Tech Mahindra, Infotech all coming into the engineering services as well. Airbus and Boeing and some of the tier 1 companies really worked with them to develop the engineering services and on the manufacturing, the build-to-print capabilities as well. Subsequently, over the next 15 years, India saw a surge in the aviation growth. And in 2023, India ordered the maximum number of aircraft from any one country in the world, actually. So this has brought a renewed, interest among the companies, the private sectors, large and medium MSMEs in the country to get into aerospace as well, okay? So despite fueling this growth in the global aviation market, Indian aerospace supply chain contributes to approximately 1% of the global supply chain, all right? So this is disproportionately below the value of the import of the aircraft and components, okay? The aerospace exports annually from India is as little as $2 billion. So now, countries, like India, which has a tremendous growth in aviation, they also have aspirations to develop the aerospace industry as well, okay? And in fact, Prime Minister Modi ji recently has been promoting that we need to have more aerospace companies, and he's been pushing aerospace manufacturing bottom up, right from components up to sub-assemblies, assemblies to move the chain bottom up. And the Ministry of Civil Aviation is taking this drive, and they are really working very hard on improving that. While bottom-up approach is extremely important, it's also recognized that that is not enough. We need to have a top-down approach as well. So there is also a push, again, from the Prime Minister's office on taking up with the regional transport aircraft, which is a 90-seater aircraft. And that is the vision of both Make in India and Made in India sort of concept being pushed by the Prime Minister Modi ji as well. Global aircraft and engine OEMs, even though they have a very strong backlog, but they also are having challenges for ramp up in their own companies as well as across the supply chain as well. This is post-COVID. During COVID, they had to really shed a lot of people, across the supply chain as well in tier one. So given the current geopolitical situations, are global OEMs rethinking their strategy in terms of the supplier footprint? Where does actually India fit in their strategy, current strategy? What is the expectation from India to grow their supplier footprint, and what advice can these companies give us, to our supply chain? And finally, based on the government support the global OEMs get from their home countries, what recommendations they can make to our government as well. So these are some of the questions I have, and having aircraft OEM, engine OEMs, as well as super tier ones here, let's ask them and find out. Okay, thank you very much. Over to you, Savya.
Thank you, Dwarka. Good morning to everybody. I guess it's still morning. First of all, I've spent the last 3 days at the air show, Monday through Wednesday, and what a fantastic show it has been. Some world-class capabilities on display, both from the government side, the DPSUs, large OEMs, multinational companies, and even startups. The capability that I have seen is simply world-class, and as Indians, something we need to be really proud of. So first I wanted to say that because I think it's very relevant, to this topic. Of course, I congratulate the Government of India, Ministry of Defense, and Government of Karnataka for pulling together such a massive show in our city of Bengaluru. So massive congratulations for that. Collins Aerospace is part of the RTX group. RTX has 3 group companies. We have Collins Aerospace, my organization. We have Pratt & Whitney, the engine manufacturer, and we have Raytheon. These are 3 businesses. I represent Collins Aerospace Engineering. We have been in country for over 25 years now, and we've been manufacturing in India for that period of time. So we've been making in India since it was, before even it was a thing. And I can proudly say there is not a single program or single OEM that we support that the team in India doesn't touch. Any major project, any major system, any program, the team in India has a major support in that. In addition to growing our own footprint, we have been collaborating with our partners and suppliers. In the last 25 years, we have grown the ecosystem around us as well. There are about, I would say, 60 or 70 different suppliers that we have actually grown by virtue of our presence here. So not only are they supplying to Collins manufacturing in India, they are now our global suppliers as well. So I think this is a very relevant topic, Dwarka, that we are bringing up, and I think India is in a very wonderful path ahead. I think the capabilities are all there, but there's still more work to be done, and that's what I hope to engage today and discuss with you all.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe I can only insist on what you just mentioned. Amazing air show this week, impressive capabilities. And I think one of the points on which we will all agree that the level of maturity that this sector has gained in the past few years is really incredible and amazing. And it only goes with strong leadership from the government, expressing the ambition and enabling the ambition to materially happen on the ground, in collaboration with the people who knows this since years. And luckily, Airbus is definitely one of the key players in here. I have to admit I'm in an easy, comfortable position, mainly in Bangalore. In Airbus, India, for us, Bangalore is definitely home. Yeah. That's where we have the bulk of Airbus presence in India. And I would say that the road is clearly paved on long-lasting partnership. And if you allow me, and I'm sorry, it's not it's just to add on what you just mentioned. Our relationship with India, our partnership was not born a few years back. We are talking about a relationship or a partnership on which we have been capitalizing for the past 5 decades. It all started, of course, with HAL, which is one of our major partners, not only for India market, but also at a global level. And this is lasting. If I compare where we were only 5 years back compared to what we have reached today, with India, hand in hand, on the supply chain part. I can easily say and proudly say that this partnership doubled the volume of this in the past 5 years only. We today can proudly say that thanks to India, India is contributing for more than €1 billion in the overall supply chain of Airbus. We are extremely proud of this because it's a solid and strong stone on which we are building the future. We are anticipating doubling again this figure in the few coming years, steadily and strongly, and again, as I mentioned, based on a solid basis. Today, what we see in India, and I will use one of our CEO statements, in this current ecosystem around aviation, it's clearly the de-bottleneck solution that we are looking at, and I'm sure we will go through several examples in which Airbus is definitely considering India as a strong partner on which we can capitalize to ensure that the bottleneck we have somehow in the existing supply chain is supported by the Indian potential.
Thank you, Michel.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be there, so we'll also add to the comments. Maybe if it's a competition, Safran is working with India for 70 years. So I think maybe you're better, so maybe we go increase. So we'll see.
That's a good one.
So anyway, yeah, it's heavy competition. Anyway, so meaning that, yes, we are also very well involved. Safran has grown now 92,000 people in the world, but in India, it has been a long-lasting story and a lot of work together, but I agree with my colleagues here, it's accelerating in the last couple of years. And the crisis of the COVID that has led to the global supply chain crisis after that is really showing that India is really a game changer in our future for this global industry. I think we all agree on that. And we have now 17 locations in India, in Safran, in different businesses. The business I'm in, so everyone knows more maybe the engine part of the propulsion part on Safran side. I'm working on electronics and defense, which is maybe less known, but is growing a lot, linked to two aspects. The aerospace industry, aeronautics, with the market increase, and especially in India, by the way. So it's also a customer as well here in India, but also the defense market. With the fragmented world we have, there is also a lot of activities ongoing, and electronics and defense business is part of it. And we are making also partnership recently at the air show here with Bell on the Hammer, which is the missile. So the goal is to continue developing those partners. And we are supplying so navigation system, also optronic system, avionics system, as well as my fellow colleagues from Collins, and electronic system like computers and critical software, and of course both civil and military. And so the goal now for sure is discuss further how we can foster the energies on those activities, how we can leverage, how we can link together, because I think India has shown through his leadership a great intent to drive this progress and to be a part of this story in aerospace and defense. So I'm very happy to be there and to further discuss with you.
Thank you, Jean-Noel.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I think it's just afternoon. My name's Hugh Morgan. I'm the Senior Vice President for Procurement in Aerospace at Rolls-Royce. And I have to say what a pleasure and a privilege it is to talk at this event today. Rolls-Royce also has a very long relationship with India, going back many years, built on innovation, collaboration, and close partnership. And we want to grow that relationship and grow the volumes. We're looking to double our sourcing in region. That's my job over the next 5 years. And I think some of the key enablers, as some of the other panelists have said, that in our traditional supply chain, we are struggling for capacity. Our engine volumes are growing at more than 20% a year, and we need to satisfy that growth to support engine build. I think the best cost country, provides the best opportunity for that, and this is where we're focusing. Hence the fact we're going to significantly grow our sourcing in region. The way we're going to do that is to work collaboratively with the long-term vision and the right team in region. We don't manage this from the UK. We put the team in region locally because that provides the best practical results. So all in all, I'm really looking forward to growing the business here, and I think it's a huge opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh, as well. It's no surprise, why we selected all you guys, because of your your long-term relationship as well, and also you have your own footprint. Plus, you also have supplier footprint in the country. That's why you can actually talk about it and know what is happening on both sides of the world as well, right? So maybe what I'll do is that I'll kickstart with my first topic in terms of the navigating the geopolitical landscape, and how do we enhance competitiveness as well. Giving you the context, the global A&D landscape is increasingly shaped by the geopolitical tensions, the strategic alliances, and the evolving, defense priorities as well. Export opportunities are emerging from Indian A&D companies, particularly in friendly nations. I mean, given the geopolitical challenges and the supply chain disruptions which have been facing, how are the aircraft and engine OEMs and the super tier ones like Collins rethinking on your sourcing strategies? That's one thing we would really like to know. And what are the opportunities and risk? Where does India fit in this equation? Okay, so we'll start with you, Hugh, if that's all right.
Thank you. It is a very good question. I think first of all, in terms of managing risk, we have a very robust risk management process where we look at probability of impact, and then we look at treatments for those risks. Supply chain is a big issue for us, and supply chain is a big feature of our risk management process. To be honest, I mentioned that we're seeing significant growth in our engine volumes, and many of our suppliers in our traditional regions are really struggling to meet that growth need. So I think that gives us a time window in India, a critical time window for us to support that growth. This is the best opportunity to meet that growth in region, in India, and I think we really need to grasp the opportunity and move at pace to increase the sourcing in region and satisfy the demand, because without parts we don't build engines, and that is absolutely critical for us.
All right, okay, thank you. And yourself, Michel, if you want to go over that.
Sure, my pleasure. Just adding on what has been just mentioned, today the approach of Airbus in developing the aerospatial ecosystem in India is, and you mentioned it a bit previously, we are looking at bottom up and top down. This approach is the healthiest we have seen so far, and I believe, speaking humbly on behalf of the whole group, today we have a convincing track record, solid one on which we can capitalize to say that partnerships are key in everything we do, and partnerships are built on the long run. Today, if we look about what Airbus is doing in India, we are present in the absolute complete value chain of the aerospace sector. We make in India, we develop in India, we innovate in India, we produce in India, and that's the mantra that we are using with India, because it has been successful so far, and we want to proceed in this way. And we are really capitalizing on key partners in the region. I mentioned previously that we have reached above €1 billion of supply chain procured on services and commodities from India, components, and we can capitalize on above 100 suppliers, out of which some of them are key for the ecosystem of Airbus. We can proudly say that every commercial aircraft in Airbus has something made in India, be it on the services part or on the components part.
All right. Thank you very much. And okay, you go ahead.
Sure. No, I was just going to say, if there is one word that has kept global A&D CEOs up at night since COVID, it's supply chain, and the disruptions that we have seen. coupled with that are the geopolitical posturing that is happening, where there is a lot of nationalist sort of an agenda, is creating a very interesting dynamic, as you can imagine, globally. But I can say that is where there's a great opportunity for India, which has very friendly ties with most major Western allies, and India, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, is positioning itself very well, and the air show that we have just had isn't hurting that cause either. Collins is doing about $500 million already of exports from India, and I anticipate over the next few years, we will be significantly increasing that. So significant opportunities, but I can tell you, these things don't happen overnight. We can't change our supplier ecosystem overnight. This takes years to develop. So there is an opportunity for people who are patient with us, who will continue to work with the OEMs and the tier one suppliers. I think there will be significant opportunities. But I do want to say that aerospace and defense tends to be a high entry sort of barrier for new entrants. But I think there are a lot of very enthusiastic folks looking at this industry, and I'm very hopeful for what that will result in.
All right, thank you, Jean-Noel.
Yeah, and the last comment on that, because a lot of things have been said, but first, the aerospace industry is a very critical and demanding in terms of safety.
Yeah.
And second, also, with the issue we have seen in the supply chain, what is the opportunity for India is to develop the global supply chain in there.
Yeah.
Starting from the raw material elaboration,
Exactly.
which is critical, which also we need to qualify as good as it's important that we have the good quality of those materials to be independent as well. And so I think the way India has progressed now makes it possible, because there is a long lasting industry that now can rise up. And again, the OEMs here are there also to help on that and to make sure it's transforming from something that was isolated to a global supply chain, integrated into India and supporting the rest of the world. And as my friends are saying, it's much more difficult to find now resources, capable resources, qualified resources in Europe, in US, and it's why the network here and what Karnataka especially is doing in terms of technology development and trainings is bringing is a key asset.
Absolutely. I mean, as they say, in aerospace, it's difficult to get in as a supplier. Once you get in, it's difficult to get out as well, so because the OEMs do not want to leave you once they have qualified you. But coming back to the question of, are you rethinking the strategies, and is India forming part of that plan? Would you say that, just a quick, because that's definitely what audience would like to hear as well. Is India part of your strategy looking forward, in increasing supplier footprint?
Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah, as I said, we are looking to more than double our sourcing spend in region. Yeah. I'm at the forefront of that. That is my job in procurement.
Absolutely.
Hence this week I visited 6 new suppliers, and the capability blows me away, to be honest. So absolutely that is our mission, and that is our best solution to the challenge we face around capacity globally.
Of course, after the panel discussion, we can sign the MOU then. Okay. Yourself.
Yeah, just maybe to give you concrete examples, I think that's what you also need to implement to feed the system with. As I mentioned, we are looking at it from everywhere. If we start with the assembly part, we are not having one final assembly line in India. We are having a second one for the C295 on the defense side, which is a key topic for us. Absolutely. Because we have been really honored and privileged to support the modernization of the Indian armed forces, and that's a key topic that we wanted to support India with, and it's going in a perfect direction. Same thing for the helicopters. There's a second FAL which will also, the location will be announced hopefully in the coming couple of weeks or months, but that's a clear demonstration about we want to do it in everywhere. In terms of engineering and digital, we are increasing our own capacities, again, not to serve only the Indian aerospace ecosystem and defense ecosystem. We are talking about a location which is serving the global ecosystem of Airbus. training, because I think we all know in terms of capacities requirements for the pilot training. Today we are forecasting roughly 40,000 above pilot requirements in the coming 10 years. It's a very short time frame, and we have to staff accordingly. Today we can proudly say that we would have 14 full flight simulators in India, which hopefully will support around 5,000 pilot training in the coming couple of years. On top of that, we are working on several key institutions to support irrigating the system with technical maintenance capabilities in India. In the same range, we have above 45,000 manpower requirements in here. And coming back on what Jean-Noel mentioned, the human capital and the investment in India in the human capital is really remarkable, and it comes within this global supply chain requirements to fulfill gaps that we are identifying, be it in the US, in Europe, or elsewhere.
All right, thank you. And maybe I'll ask, he's already addressed that, so yourself, Jean-Noel.
Yeah. Just also, as my fellow colleague, we are also trying to put a dedicated team inside India to work on the sourcing, to work on this supply chain. Sure. As you know, all the OEMs and aircraft manufacturers, they are looking for resilience and robust, I would say, supply chain.
Exactly.
And trustful supply chain. So as we say, when we qualify, we stay, but people have to be robust and stay for the long term.
Yeah.
So resilience means what? Coming back to the raw material, it's being independent.
Yeah.
So when we look at raw material, metallic parts, but also rare earths, and working on electronics, it's also a key topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Electronics is very depending on China and Taiwan, and everyone knows what it means.
Absolutely.
So same thing, everything going through the supply chain, developing this supply chain will be key to be resilient. Absolutely. That's a key topic. So that's how we are trying to work on the resourcing. And as well, we need to work on the global footprint inside India to make sure we have all the capabilities available to develop.
And as you rightly pointed out, value add, from the country, will be lost if you don't have the raw materials. So currently, companies are working on aluminum side, titanium, composites as well, and a lot of the companies, your companies are supporting these guys to really promote, like Hindalco on aluminum, Excel and composites, all these guys. But by the time they come, there are a few aggregators as well who can come in and help as well. That's happening as well.
And what I heard yesterday was also something very interesting in the strategy of India in terms of energy.
Yeah.
The other topic, to be competitive and resilient,
exactly,
is having an autonomy in energy, but not dirt energy, renewable energy. And this is exactly also what Karnataka and the rest of India is doing, is rising up in those energies, having an independence and competitive, because we're going to be looking, Safran as a company, as well as our customers, they are looking to also be a sustainable industry.
Absolutely.
We have committed to a sustainable aerospace industry in the next 20 years. We need to work on that. Absolutely. And if our partners are not working on that, our supply chain is not working on that, it will never happen. Yeah. And India is working on it.
It's definitely. In the energy side, there is a big push, as you can see, all renewable energies, whether it's solar farms or, we may not be as high in the nuclear energy like in the 70% in France, but we are slowly getting there. That's another part.
Karnataka, I heard 70% of renewable energy.
Renewable energy. So that's great. And then windmill, as well, wind energy as well. We are getting that as well from that. So thank you for that. Yeah,
I have to step in because he mentioned a key word regarding sustainability, and I think this is definitely one of the key challenges that we are foreseeing. Airbus has fully embraced the ambition of 2050, and we are committed into achieving this. One of the key areas in which India is already working, and we are supporting into developing this ecosystem, is around the SAF, the Sustainable Aviation Fuel. It's key for us because today, from a manufacturer point of view, with the support of our partners from an engine perspective, we know that we have the capacity technically to perform flights with using SAF. The challenge we have is who will produce SAF, in which quantity, and at which price. Okay. Today, India is definitely going to be playing a key role in this in terms of available competencies, disruptive technologies, but also in terms of resources.
Absolutely. By 2050, all the airlines have signed up for carbon neutral, and majority of it will come from SAF, up till a certain period before we go for the new energy, in terms of the flight. And today, less than 1% of the aviation fuel is used by SAF. Two main reasons. One, expensive. Logistics, who is producing, that type of thing. So that's where we need to really address that to see how do you move forward.
Yeah, and I'm pleased to say that all of our engines have been successfully tested with SAF, and we take it very seriously. That in conjunction with getting the most efficient engine in the marketplace, the Trent XWB,
Absolutely.
and then we're taking that to the next level with our UltraFan product. So we treat it very seriously, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to improve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. By 2030, probably all engine manufacturers, OEM, will be ready, but the production of SAF could be the challenge. At what price, do we do that as well? Okay, quickly moving on, you touched upon the government, what we are doing in energy, so probably let's look at catalyzing the A&D ecosystems, the government role as well, right? So giving the context in terms of among the world's top economies, most possesses indigenous passenger aircraft manufacturing capabilities or significantly contribute to existing sort of programs. And if you look at the top 10 GDP countries, such initiatives are pivotal for fostering a robust aerospace ecosystem. We have seen that in all the home countries where you are in, given the strategic sensitivity of our related technologies as well. So do you think that Indian government should launch its own regional passenger aircraft program on its own, or given where we are, should it be collaborating with a global OEM to drive Indian aerospace ecosystem development? Maybe we'll start with Airbus being an OEM. What if you could give your views?
Sure, a pleasure. On this specific point, I think I illustrated about this previously. Today, Airbus has a convincing and a solid track record in terms of collaborating. We are humble enough to position ourselves as a support to whatever ambition or initiative which could be launched by the Indian government or the Indian aerospace key stakeholders. Today we are quite excited about the progress that the NAL, the National Aerospace Laboratories, has made on the topic. We position ourselves as a supporter. I think they are at the project phase at this stage, so we will definitely see how we can accompany this ambition in general. Again, coming back to the collaboration, sometimes at the pace of which things are moving forward, I think sometimes you can gain time by collaborating with the right partner.
All right, good. I saw a person from NAL is going to come and talk to you after the end. So with Savya.
Yeah, so there is no secret that the Prime Minister as well as the Civil Aviation Minister has made this a very key part of their agenda for this administration, is to look at a passenger aircraft. In addition to being a matter of pride for the country, but it also creates all the ecosystems and jobs around it. So that's definitely there. And we've had multiple meetings with the NAL as well, who's the design authority. But just kind of step back for a second. The people who are building in planes are in the business for a very long time. The thing about a commercial jet, which is different than building a military jet, it has got to be very commercially viable for the airlines. You can't force an airline to buy a commercial jet just because it was made in XYZ country, right? So it has to be commercially viable. And that's where I think the government has to work with a consortium, not just with one company, but a consortium of global companies with Indian companies to potentially look at what that next that offering may be. As the gentleman here said, the next plane will be very different in the next decade to what we have flying right now. Technologically, in addition to the propulsion that has already been addressed, whether it's going to be electric, hybrid, whatever, just in terms of, what it's going to look like. Is it going to be a subsonic plane? Is it a supersonic plane? Because that's come up as a discussion as well. What kind of material, we'll be using, composites. It's going to be the most sustainable aircraft that needs to be coming out. And also, there's going to be a lot of tech in the plane in terms of, bringing the emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning. So there is a whole slew of challenges that the industry needs to be working on to get us there. And while the government has a huge role to play in supporting the ecosystem, you will have to have multiple partners getting on this to make a commercially viable offering.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think looking at the Indian market itself, and as we discussed earlier, we are going to be the third largest market soon, but potentially in a few years or a few decades down the line, probably will be the second largest market as well. So looking at that, for the nation itself, they need, and after having sent a probe to the moon and after having had the fighter jet, the next logical thing to look at is to have a passenger aircraft, to do that. And where we are in the journey, it'll take a long time if we just do it alone. We may eventually do it. We can't wait for another 20, 25 years. That's where I think, as Savya said, government is looking at saying, how do we partner with global OEMs? And how do we partner with Indian private companies as well? Today, private companies are really averse of looking at a passenger aircraft because they don't know who will buy that as well. That's one of the things. Thank you.
Just wanted to add, Dwarka, also that, there is an opportunity here as well, because there is a lot of uniqueness about India in terms of our terrain, in terms of the harsh climate that we have, that there is a niche there that can be addressed.
Absolutely.
And to some extent, the RTA, when it comes out, is looking to do that. So, so while I said it has to be commercial market, there is a market available, there is a niche that is available, which is not being addressed today, especially with the UDAN scheme, which is connecting the tier 2 and tier 3 sort of towns in India. So there is an opportunity for a player, but there is a significant amount of collaboration required for that.
Absolutely, because at some stage, you can only do a certain level bottom up. Nobody is going to give your crown jewels to the suppliers at the end. So there needs to be a top-down to understand some aspects of our own designing of the aircraft and other things as well. But coming back, the other one I had is that if any of you have any recommendations, for the indigenous RTA program, especially from Airbus or any of your colleagues as well, you have anything on what government should be looking for?
I think the government is already supporting a lot of improvements and incentives. In the past, we saw that a lot on, I would say, military offsets.
Yeah.
I think everything that can be done to extend this policy towards civil and broadly on the aerospace industry incentives on that will help us and other companies to invest more and to keep there. So to do a Make in India for India and do a Make in India for the rest of the world.
Exactly.
So I think everything that can be done on that to really try to extend this offset policy and incentive policy outside of military will be helpful. And often, civil is bringing volumes.
Exactly.
It's bringing the way we can amortize equipment investment. Yeah. So it's also a good opportunity to be able to mix those and to extend.
Absolutely. The volumes on civil, the margins on defense. So we need to probably marry both, in order to get that as well, right? Okay, so, with that, let me move to the next, topic on that is the development of the A&D, sector globally has historically relied on significant government support, right? So whichever country you're looking at, after the Second World War, significant support, and particularly it's a capital-intensive area in R&D and design, right? And the Indian private sector in these areas remains hesitant due to the perceived risks in recouping the investments as well. So based on your experience from Europe and the US, what specific policy interventions and incentives should Indian government need to implement to foster this world-class A&D system, especially to move from build to print to design to spec, getting into design, IP creation, and all that. So maybe I'll start with yourself, Hugh.
Thank you. I think that I visited many suppliers this week, and I've been coming to India for a long, long time. Not the 75 years that we've been working together, but close. Every time I come, I get blown away by the change since the last time I've been, and the capability growth I think is amazing. And I think there's a couple of enablers to that. I think that one is the investment and the other is the people. I'd come to India and the management would take me around and explain how the place worked. This week in suppliers, the people doing the work are explaining to me what they do, and they're explaining that with a great deal of knowledge. So I think, the people, the investment and the technology are what we need. And actually, I think the government's doing a great job in that. And I think that the policies that are in place are absolutely working, and I see that practically in the suppliers I visit every time I come. So I think it's doing more of the same. We can always move at faster pace. We know that. We always challenge ourselves, but no, I think broadly the policy is working, and I think also it's a two-way thing. It's more than the government. It's about us, the OEMs, putting the right resource in region and making the capabilities available to support that, to move at that pace.
All right. Thanks, Hugh. And Michel, you want to address that?
Sure, and I would combine 2 points that my colleagues has just mentioned. I really think that today, as I mentioned also earlier, the leadership has set the ambition, and they are clearly on the ground putting the means to make it happen. We are constantly exchanging with them on various topics. Definitely offset for the defense activities is one of them. We are getting open ears, we are getting collaboration and support on various areas. So the government has created a fertile ecosystem from all the layers, from education, from production, from manufacturing, and supporting through the policies. I think in India you can be proud of the Make in India not being seen as a constraint, but as an enabler for things to happen, because they are putting the means. They want you to do things in India for India and globally, but they are also supporting us on these topics. So I would say today on some of the areas, if maybe we can talk about a dedicated fund which could have low interest rates specifically dedicated for the defense business, because we don't want always the government, and here I really concur to what you mentioned. We shouldn't always wait what the government will do for the ecosystem. It's also how can we use the ecosystem in a more efficient way. And if a conglomerate of financial institutions, banks can support they can enjoy maybe a specific fiscal packages or something like this on the activities dedicated for this, given the priority that India has given to this sector of activity.
All right, thank you.
I think the roadmap to Atmanière Barbarat is really to make sure we focus on the training. So again, the incentive the support from the government is really how we can have, besides of the companies, of the businesses, the support from the institutions around in terms of training, from the operators to engineers. It's key that it's linked. That's how it has been developed in all countries.
Exactly, yeah.
The link between R&D and I would say academic centers and the businesses and the companies. And if we foster this environment, then it rises. And then it's an independent ecosystem that is working together and progressing. So there is education. There is also, we need to have in the business all the types of businesses. So the production, the engineering, and the support. And if we have the whole loop of the value of the products, we also have a good progress in having the feedbacks on what's happening. and developing the full loop in terms of product life, which is also a way to be even more independent in the future.
Thank you, Jean-Noel. And Savya, you guys do this all the time in your center in Collins here. So do you think that for Indian private companies who work with you guys as well, that what will encourage them to do invest in this area?
No, I would say government of Karnataka has been very progressive when it comes to A&D. Of course, the government of India with the GST policies but we have 3 factories in Bangalore. These are Collins factories, 2 in Whitefield, 1 in KIDB, and we've been expanding significantly since our inception, and none of this would have been possible without the support of the government at the center as well as the local, be it the PLI schemes that are in place or tariffs and so on. I think it's something that we have definitely enjoyed as a company, and I think those are available for all players who are trying to enter into the market. I would say that as we move forward, India has always positioned ourselves as a labor arbitrage, and I think we need to move beyond that, because when you're looking at what the industry needs, which is significant amount of R&D and manufacturing prowess and special processes and so on, this will hinge not just in terms of services capability, but also significant amount of investment in terms of planted machinery and bringing automation and technology and so on. These are the areas that we will have to sit together with the government and discuss, how this can continue to be supported. But I think the government has been very progressive so far.
All right. Thank you very much. I noted some of the points there. But coming back again, the Indian government, one of the things they have done is the automatic route on foreign direct investment as well, and increased investment, to 100% on certain cases. Civil side, okay, even on defense, on some of the areas they have done. So signaling a commitment to attract foreign investment and technology, okay? However, we feel that it's still very slow, all right? So the question I have is that, how can A&D companies facilitate the seamless transfer, of advanced technology to their Indian subsidiaries while ensuring intellectual property protection and maintaining global quality standards? Maybe we'll start with you, Michel, on that.
Sure. And to be honest, I think at least talking about Airbus, we are absolutely not shy into stepping into this domain. Today we have demonstrated clearly, be it intrinsically with having our own digital engineering innovation centers in India, or through our partners. And here we are talking about huge key players in the aerospace domain, again, beyond the boundaries of India. If we talk about TAS, if we talk about AHL, if we talk about Mahindra, if we talk about Dynamics, all of these key players are today supporting the global ecosystem. We don't see them as we should not work hand in hand, we should not work in an open manner. Today, our philosophy in Airbus is that full collaboration on all these topics. And today we can have and demonstrate clearly examples of how this open relationship was successful so far. We can always think about additional topics or leverages which can support the whole ecosystem. And again, I insist on the fact that we should not always look at the government. They are doing already a lot at the scale of India and all the sectors. We should also look about how much we can step in, how much we can support the ecosystem.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, on this topic and transfer, for sure, same thing for Safran. We've not been shy. We've been doing transfer of production, transfer of technologies, co-development, and a lot of things all together. We have facilities that are 100% FDI and other that are joint venture with HAL as well, and developing parts or manufacturing parts, again, for India and for export. Yeah. So I think the best way to do it is to be very transparent in terms of what's happening, respecting IPs on both sides, because it's also how we can move forward. When we have fear, because there is not transparency or a risk to have issues afterwards, that's a problem. But it's not the case in India. India is very respectful of what's happening. is co-developing, is proposing resources, and I think the world is like that. It's now a co-development all over the world, and I don't know any of the companies here that are not worldwide companies working on competencies all over the world and developing products all over the world. And I think if we go in that direction, if it's supported like that, in the same way, then there should be no issue. Again, the goal is also to make sure the barriers at export are not blocking anything. And when I see some countries putting back some barriers, again, to me, it's a step back, and I hope it will not be the case for India, but it's also why we are working also with this country here, is because it's not this policy, and I hope it will go on for a long time.
All right, thank you. And Savya, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, Dwarka, the only thing I would say is, I will just start off with saying, just think about a plane. No plane ever built has all been done in one country.
Yeah, that's true.
None of the planes that are flying today, commercial or military actually, are built in one country. So, so when we are thinking about technology, to expect 100% of the technology to be in the hands of one country is not something that we would ever sort of foresee. I think India has shown itself as a very responsible country in terms of protection of IP. So compared to other countries, so that's not a concern. Today, a lot of work that we do in country is we work on some of our crown jewels, be it in our factory, be it within our R&D ecosystem. Like I said, there's no project or system that we don't touch today. So there is no barrier from that perspective, but at the same time, I wanted to say is to expect, teams in India or organizations to India to have the complete know-how is not something that is feasible as well.
Absolutely. All right, thank you. I think that sort of nicely moves to the next topic in terms of, to have a global level aerospace ecosystem, we need to have good tier 1 suppliers as well, right? So in India today, we see a lot of tier 2, tier 3 suppliers. What are the critical enablers, to develop globally competitive in a tier 1 aerospace ecosystem in India, and how can Indian suppliers scale up to such a stringent requirement? Maybe you take that, if you can, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to answer this at a very practical level, which is my experience. As I say, I've been in many suppliers recently. So I think, first of all, they've got to have the technical ability, and it's got to be in the right product category. And I think we're on a journey with product category, moving up a ladder. Every time I come, there's more complex products being produced. So I think we've got to have that technical ability first, and with that go the approvals, quality approvals. Of course, there's got to be a cost-competitive offering, and there's got to be seamless, what I call boring and reliable delivery. So on time, every time, and the right quality. I think the next thing is one of value stream integration. Many times we've tried to source parts and then they need treatments or they need raw materials. So I would encourage the supply chain to look at a one-stop shop and looking at the complete value stream and being able to produce the part from start to finish. Then I think finally, we all know it's not easy to industrialize aerospace parts, and industrialization is a challenge. So we need to have the most robust APQP processes, PPAP processes to allow us to industrialize the parts and get them into manufacture in the quickest way possible. Having said all of that, as we've said on a number of occasions today, it's all about collaboration. It's a two-way street. The OEMs have got to provide the right resource and support in region. That's why we're significantly increasing our team in region. And we need the buyers, we need the supply chain professionals, and we need the manufacturing engineers to make it happen in the quickest possible way. So I think that those are my comments, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And if you go ahead.
This is a question that I'm very passionate about, so maybe I'll just, I see a lot of youngsters in the audience today as well who are listening into this. A lot of folks, youngsters that I talk to nowadays, when I ask them, and they're into engineering or, focusing on the sciences, and I ask them, what are they specializing in? And more often than not, you hear artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, and stuff like that. New techs, which is all great. But something that is very fundamental to aerospace industry is your fundamentals itself. So people being proud of being a mechanical engineer, being proud of being an electrical or electronics engineer, or physics or mathematics. I think the focus ought to be on your fundamentals. That's where we need to start off with the young crop, right? All the new technologies are great, but that's something that you build on top of your fundamentals. That's not something you go in and focus on right into school. So if there are students here, that's my humble request. I don't want to sound too preachy, but fundamentals of engineering or maths and science is very important. The second thing, as an industry, Dwarka, that we are missing is the focus on research. If you look at India's investment in terms of R&D, compared to other countries, it's insignificant. This has got multiple sort of reasons, but I will also again go look at the youngsters here and say, look at doing research, get your PhDs. We really lack people who have a research bent of mind, who can actually solve the problems of tomorrow. To be a viable player in this industry, you need to be looking at the future. And like I said, there are a lot of problems that are yet to be solved. Hopefully there are some of these people in this audience who can take up that challenge and solve the problem. The third thing I would say is, and this is a little bit of a cultural thing as well, is the lack of people who can think at a systems level. Right? We have a lot of people who pride themselves in, oh, I work on this module, or I work on this component. When you start asking about the interfaces, right? I lead a global team. When I ask a young engineer here a question about what they work on, they will talk about a piece of software they write, or a module they have written. A same engineer, when I ask in a different part of the world, they will say, I work on an Apache helicopter. I work on an Airbus A320 platform. I think the pride of looking at it as a system and building a systems view is very, very important as you are trying to position yourself. Of course, it's a highly regulated industry, in terms of understanding what it takes to build a system. It's not something for people in e-commerce. You're used to doing, a release every day. Nothing happens in a day in aerospace and defense. Our systems usually take 5, 6, 7, 10 years. And so the ability to be resilient and view things in a long period or longer term is something, again, that as an industry, we ought to be looking at and not look at, what is happening on a day-to-day basis. So, and there are a host of other sort of things that we spoke about. But for me, some of these fundamentals, and we need industry and academia to start of thinking about, if we want to be a major power in A&D, these are some things that we need to start focusing on.
That's good, very good point.
100% agree. I cannot agree more. Our industry is a long-lasting industry. It's not a turnover. And if you have a turnover in your company that is too high, then you are losing those competencies, losing the knowledge, and it's what makes some company fail, because there is too much turnover. So my advice first is to have passionate people, for sure. You need to be passionate. Passionate people, invested in their systems, program, and in the company as well, because it's really it's like a wedding. To me, there is up and downs, but then it's beautiful in the end. But it's a long-lasting relationship. And if you are there to change every year or job or whatever, don't go somewhere else. Don't go into the aerospace industry. You will lose time and make us lose time. So that's my advice. And also, in terms of fostering the development, we need to make sure that the people that work in this area, as my colleague is mentioning, have the basics, as you are mentioning, do PQP, have R&D, so the technology is key. And what we fail also, and I have a background of engineering, and then I moved to operations. And when I look at operations, the companies that are growing too fast, that are very good technically, they can fail because of the supply chain, because of the lack of structure of their supply chain. And so my advice also is for those companies, if they have very good technical skills, they have developed the R&D, then they need also to invest on how we structure the supply chain, from the raw material, the procurement, the way we organize, the way we plan, it's also really some skills that are also passionate, but it's key if you want to grow and be a major tier one for the long term.
All right, thank you. Michel?
Yeah, just it's absolutely music to my ears what you have just mentioned, and I love the word you used about fundamentals, because at the end of the day, what we want is that the aircraft has to fly. Everything around is enhancing the global system, but at the end, mechanics is required, physics is required, mathematics is required. And today, we clearly see this appetite. I mean, I was yesterday in Aero India, and I was impressed by the civil or the young generations who started visiting the air show. It's open for public today and tomorrow. Yeah. But it started already yesterday, and you see the passion in their eyes. And we all work in a world of passion. If you don't have this passion, if you don't project yourself on the long run, indeed, don't make anyone lose their time. I think in India, the Indian government, the Indian culture is cultivating this passion to these kind of topics. And you asked a question previously about what kind of things we could use from the European or the American example. Here, I think the Indian example is a perfect one towards the young generations to keep this appetite and this flame of passion for the aerospace. You also illustrated to a very important topic, which is artificial intelligence. As we speak, this week, France and India, they co-led with the Prime Minister Modi this topic. So again, there's a clear vision and ambition within the leadership to tackle all those topics. Today, aerospace is a multiple of bricks, and we are talking about thousands of those. These bricks has to work together, has to shift together. So it requires transparency, openness, collaboration, anticipation, and going back to the basics. So I think the ingredients are there, the appetite is there, the ambition is there, and the vision is there. It's just a matter of time, because this factor, we always tend to forget it in this world where everything is going very quickly. Absolutely. I think things require times, because you need to build it on solid basis. Any small dust could pollute the whole system, and big companies can fail because they did not take the time to solidify their own basics. So I think we have to keep it in mind. I'm impressed, as you rightly mentioned, about the speed at which things are moving in India, and it will take a bit more time, but everything is there to make it a successful story.
All right. Thank you very much, because some of the key words, what you guys mentioned, about passion. Anyway, I think people ask, I want to get into aerospace industry from other industries. So why do you want to get into aerospace industry? If your intention is to make money, don't. If you have the passion to be there, and then get in, and that'll eventually get you the money. That's one of the things in the aerospace industry. People say, anyway, passion is important in anything. But coming back to what he said about fundamentals, so if I can go back about 20 years, we came with a team. At that time, I was with Airbus, so came with a team to look for setting up an engineering center. We want to look for engineers who had good experience in structures and systems. Went around, spoke to many companies. Many of the companies, I know, private companies who had an aerospace team, had either an HAL person around them, the team was there, or an AL person around that. Very few private companies in India really, was developing a team. But we saw that a lot of people were good at mathematics and physics. So the team said, let's take them. That's not difficult. We can work with the people. We can teach them in aerospace. Fundamentals are necessary. But then if you also look at all the breakthroughs we see, whether we are talking about AI or talking about blockchain, data analytics, all the fundamentals are necessary. And tomorrow, as you said, as a system engineer, you don't need to be an expert on anything, but you really need to be able to bring together all the different things. And fundamentals, your learnability, which goes back to your research, what you said, is extremely important as well. So thank you very much for that. And we have about 12 minutes now. It'll be waste if we don't ask audience for some questions as well. So if that's all right, we could ask audience. If you raise your hand, I'll start with you yourself. They'll give you a mic, and if that we go, and then you want to, okay, next one, and you three, a third, okay.
Hi, good afternoon all. So just all of you are mentioning, hello, is it better?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're mentioning about AI and automation inside in flight, all the aerospace dynamics. So how soon we can see the automation is being implemented inside the flight? Because if you see in the last 20, 30 years, whatever, inside the flight, passenger aircraft, there is least changes happened. You might have done all R&D outside all this, because hardly how much time we spend whenever interstellar travel happens. Let's say that it's a 10 hours travel. Out of that, a lot of people are bored out of that something. So something has to be done in such a way so that automation or AI has to be implemented so that a lot of wasted time is utilized of the people. That hasn't happened. I have seen in the past at least 20 years, I have not seen internal change inside the flight hasn't happened that much. I hope you agree with me.
Maybe you quickly repeat
Yeah,
the question.
I think the question was, when you enter the planes, it doesn't look any different than what it did 20 years ago. And why, as an industry, we don't, we have brought in technologies like AI, ML into the cockpit a lot sooner. Let me just start off and say, as an A&D industry, we are not the first adopters of technology. And there is a reason for that. Number A, we are a highly regulated industry. Safety is paramount in our industry. So when our people are, taking a nap at 35,000 feet in the sky, they need to feel like they are safe regardless of the weather and whatever environmental conditions we have. That said, the industry is bringing in technology at a rapid pace right now. There is, be it in the cockpit, in the cabin, there is significant amount of research going on. But we also, as organizations, need to work with our regulators, because the key word here is certification, right? Especially if you have a safety critical part, and that needs to be certified. And by nature of, certification essentially means you are 100% sure of how it will behave during all the different conditions that it will face. By nature of AI, there is a little bit of dynamism there because it's learning, right? So that is where the challenge is. So we, as organizations, as multinational A&D players, are working with our regulators like the FAA and EASA and the DGCA to work with them and bring these technologies on board. The technology today exists to have single pilot operations, absolutely. In fact, there is technology even to have pilotless operation. How many of you, show of hands, will be happy to fly 35,000 feet in the sky in an Airbus or Boeing platform without a pilot? How many of you? One,
So
two,
three.
So there is a human element here as well, right? So while there are few people, brave souls, who are now going in driverless cars, I'm not seeing too many people raise their hands in terms of flying in the sky without a pilot in the loop. So there is a regulation, there's the safety element. We've got to be responsible, we've got to be ethical in terms of bringing technology on board. At the same time, ensuring safety, and you as end customers need to be comfortable with that as well. So, but these are some things that we are right now working with. All our processes are bringing in a significant amount of technology and automation. It's just when you see things, especially the safety critical part, you will see us taking a little bit more time. But next time, every time you start going, you will start seeing these technologies permeate, especially in the cabin. There's a lot of connectivity that is already being built by the OEMs that you will start seeing. But we are, for obvious reasons, a little slower than, say, the automobile industry.
I will just comment on that, yeah.
I will just add one comment. How many also think, so how many planes have been spoofed, meaning, spoofed, meaning that they go out of their trajectory last year? What do you think? How many?
So very less. What of the trajectory that it's been?
40,000. So 5 years ago, 4 planes.
Okay.
Last year, 40,000. So when you look at artificial intelligence, yes, it's a breakthrough. We were using it everywhere, from the basics, meaning that our database, analyzing the test data, the production data, helping our engineers to accelerate. For example, software, we are using AI to produce piece of codes, but then we are validating through a rigorous process, through certification with the authorities. It's what is taking time, and we need to make sure there is no failure possible. And we have a duty towards you taking planes in that. So again, there is a lot of things to be addressed with AI, and a full autonomous plane is something that still is difficult to achieve. But again, it's a help. The AI is a help on the design phase, on the production phase, and it will change our way of working. So I'm not saying we are not using it at all. We are just saying we need to be very careful in how we bring that into the products and into the automation of the planes.
All right. Thank you very much. If you take that, please.
We have been having a very interesting discussions. I would like to request the panelists to give their perspective on fine-tuning the present policy framework. Would you like to suggest any modifications, improvement for the present policy framework?
We touched that, but again, for them, they may not be aware of the India. You're talking about Indian policy frameworks. No? It's probably that's for them. We touched on that. What we can do is outside that. Happy to discuss that with you if that's all right. Already 4 people had raised. Now I'll come back to you. After that. Yeah.
Good afternoon, panelists. My question is to Mr. Michel. That how you see our aviation industry growth in next 5 years span comparatively for India, the growth regarding India?
Thank you very much for this question. I touched slightly based on this specific topic from a supply chain perspective to remain within the theme of the session today. I mentioned that in the past 5 years, from 2019 till today, we have doubled our volume of collaboration and components and services purchased from India. And I can safely consider that in the coming 5 years or maybe 10 years, we will again have the same pace of doubling again this volume. Again, the potential is there, the capacities are there, and within the current context, be it COVID and the after COVID, be it as it was not enough, we added a layer of complexity from a geopolitical point of view. And this brings India as a key player to enhance the whole ecosystem. If you allow me, I will just illustrate back maybe from a different angle from the technology. And here I would like just to add on what you mentioned rightly, that differentiates slightly the technology aspects and the automation and the progress we could make between defense domain and commercial domain. In defense, there's a lot, in both domains, there's a lot which is ongoing, absolutely a lot. In defense, you would allow yourself to do, or to take one step further in some of the innovations. Whatever you develop for the defense usually is taken as a proven product for the commercial area.
Yeah. I think on defense, we can be on the bleeding edge of technology, whereas on commercial, it's like Formula One cars then coming into cars, right? That type of thing. Do you want to add to that question?
Yes, I'd like to add to that. So, yes, Rolls-Royce is committed to more than doubling our spend in region over the next 5 years. And I think one of the key enablers to that is to look at the parts being provided. And we've got to increase the technical capability to produce those parts. We started at simple parts, we're moving up the ladder, and the way to double that spend is to supply more complex parts in the core of the engine.
All right. And I'll just answer that as well. As part of this Aerospace India Association, I'm part of that. What we are expecting, we are pushing that today, if you look at just product design and manufacturing, our exports is about, less than 2 billion, And 10 years time, we're expecting that to grow to 20 billion. Okay, so we are at 1% of the global supply chain, which is like 180 billion. We want to make that to 10% in 10 years as well. So that's some of the ambitions, we have, and this is working with the different suppliers in the country as well, if that helps as well. And yourself, please.
Hello. My question is slightly future back, right? So we spoke about aerospace and defense, right? Now, if you look 10 years, 20 years down the line, probably what's most important when the economies will change from oil to, let's say, critical minerals, both under ocean and space. What will be the role of the aerospace and defense sector, considering it has advanced technologies, in capturing the space and the deep ocean race, probably?
All right, a great question. Anybody wants to take that? The future in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, what will be the technology, for the space and aerospace, where do we see ourselves?
There is a lot to say. I think we could spend another conference on it. But yeah, it's spreading a lot. Have you seen first the space? I will start with space. That has changed dramatically. Before we were sending one satellite, very expensive, a lot of products. Now it's like an infrastructure, like electricity, like water, that will be used for everyone, and it's a less expensive product that are thrown and that will be used. So see, it's completely changing the way we're going to use that as a commodity instead of very specific things. So it will change completely. Now, second thing is that we've seen in terms of defense is the battlefield has completely changed. You've seen that in the recent wars, unfortunately, but there are drones everywhere. The battlefield is transparent, so you have sensors everywhere. You don't have any radio frequency anymore available, so it changes completely the way it's working. So technologies are evolving at a speed that I cannot tell you everything what's going to happen in 20 years. I will be part of it, I hope, but and the world will not have exploded, I hope as well. But it changes the technologies, of course. And as we were saying, artificial intelligence will also change the way we are working.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't. We have to see that with great also distance. But we're going to use that on an everyday, but as a help, as a tool. And now, what I hope everyone will work on is the ethic behind that, because it's also something we need to learn about. And our industry tries also to work on the ethical way, both in aerospace and defense, because it's also our duty for the future, for our children, to protect them that.
We have almost run out of time. Time is up, as it says. When I was young, I used to watch Star Trek. My ambition was beam me up Scotty was the technology I was looking for. I thought I will do that before my end of my life. But when I started young, people told me that I'll have coffee when I'm 50, robots will be coming and giving me coffee. I'm still waiting, So let's see, what we get there as well, So thank you very much, for. Please put your hands together for the lovely panels we have, and thank you very much for being a great audience as well. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for our esteemed panelists present on stage this afternoon for Invest Karnataka 2025. I want to especially thank each and every one of you. If I could request you to kindly stay back on stage. Mr. Srinivasan, if I could request you to kindly do the honors and hand over a token of appreciation from the government of Karnataka for our global heads.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. First. Thank you. Blocking you. I'll give it like that. With the box, without the box.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and let's give it up for our esteemed panelists joining us on stage for Invest Karnataka 2025. It was a great opportunity to hear your thoughts and your perspectives, and thank you for taking the time off and being a part of it. Additionally, I would also like to add that we are absolutely delighted to have with us Mr. Kaushal Yadav, Director, Air Pushpak Aviation Private Limited. Thank you, sir, for being a part of Invest Karnataka. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you be a part of Invest Karnataka 2025. Thank you for your presence out here.